The 2024 release horror film The Inheritance, and the movie begins with the introduction of the character of Drew and Hannah, and we supposedly come to know that Drew is husband and his wife is Hannah, and they are traveling towards the estate that is the Charles estate, and Charles Abernethy is a billionaire here. So we have shown the backdrop of the movie, and there are many people arriving at that estate at the same time. We see that the siblings arrive one by one at the remote Abernethy mansion. We see that CJ is the one reluctant leader that is just keeping the family grounded always. And then there is Madeline, which masks her trauma with the sarcasm and the wittiness she carry with herself. That is so good. And then there is Kami, which is very fragile and emotionally strained girl. That is the daughter of the billionaire Charles. And then we see Drew and his wife Hannah, and they are outliers actually, because they have avoided the family's conflicts for so many years. And when they come at the stop itself, that is the estate, they find the mansion that is just locked with very heavy security. And Charles actually delivers his chilling announcement. He fears for his life and needs their protection until the midnight. And suspicious, but they are just kind of baffled by the promise of the well. The sibling reluctantly just agreed to stay. Then we see that they explore the mansion and whatnot about this, because it's a big of a thing, and rekindling old grudges. And Kami accuses Madeline of abandoning her when she just needed her most. We see that Drew faces judgment from CJ for his years of absence. Meanwhile, Charles watches their interaction so coldly and nothing giving expression at all, seemingly just enjoying the chaos that is just happening between both of them. And Hannah discovers strange carvings etched into the walls, and it just resembling the ancient ruins. In the kitchen, an old servant just warns her cryptically that the house knows who it wants. And this is the kind of hint we get at the start of movie, that something is just off about this house, and it is not a normal house, a typical house we see. And when she shared this with her husband Drew, he just brushes it off as a very kind of paranoia, or not bothering about it, or just taking it reluctantly. I think not bothering about it too much. As tension just rises, the first supernatural event occurs. A chandelier just falls in the dining room, nearly crushing Kami, and Charles dismisses it just as a coincidence, but the siblings are just visibly very, very unnerved and suspicious at the same time due to this uh, kind of event that is not expected right there, because it is an unexpected event out of nowhere it is happening. While wandering the mansion, Kami just stumbles upon a very locked basement door. She hears faint whispers calling her name and feels a very invisible pull towards it. And later the evening, while swimming in that indoor pool, while she was having fun there, she's just a kind of a real star we see, always going live on Instagram and on those social media platforms. And she just attacked by a shadowing figure that is very very harrowing shadowing figure, and her scream just echo through the halls. But when the sibling just arrives, she is gone, leaving behind only blood on the pool tiles. The discipline sends the family into very much panic mode, and Madeline accuses Drew of orchestrating the event that has just happened and citing his financial struggles as motivation. And Drew just counters by pointing out Charles' history of dissent. And we finally see that Kami is just pulled by the invisible force, and she's just lying down at the because she's just virtually dead, and she's present at the bottom of the pool. And the siblings search the house for clues, just uncovering the Charles hidden study inside. And when they are going through the journals and all the things, they find a very strange journal, and that was chronicling his rise to power. And the journals reveals a very very dark and very heinous truth, that decades ago Charles just made a pact with Mammon, and Mammon is nothing but that is referred to as the demon of greed in this movie. I don't know the actual if there is any kind of such demon or not, but the film in this, I mean, they have just referred to that, and I need to look if there is any kind of such thing in real life or something like that, or is it demonstrated in any other demonic book or something like that. So you can also tell me in comment section. In exchange for wealth and success, he offered his soul. When the time came to fulfill his end of the deal, Charles just renegotiated, offering his bloodline instead. So that is the, I think, fault here, not giving his whole soul, but I think he's introducing his bloodline. So kind of making a very good negotiation right there. And the journal's final entry just warns of the Mamun's arrival to collect the Abernethy children, that is the Charles children or the Charles bloodline children. And we see the Madeline just confronts Charles that demanding the truth, and he admits to the pact, but he just insists that there's a way out, and if he sacrifices one of them just before midnight, he can just save the other, including himself too. And the revelation just splits the group. They are having the thinking differences and the ability to just tackle these things in a very different manner. We see that the character of CJ just want to focus on survival, while the Madeline just accuses Charles of planning to sacrifice them all. And we see that Drew suggests leaving, but the mansion doors just remain locked, and the security system just prevent any kind of escape from that place. And supernatural activity just began to intensify as the time passes. In this movie, we see that doors slam shut and ghostly appearances just haunts the hallway. They are just lurking there every time, and the mansion itself seems to turn against them, kind of giving rise to these activities. And in one harrowing scene, we see that the Madeline is just lured into a secret passageway by a voice resembling Kami. So I think this is just a demon's play, and she just narrowly escapes at the passage hallway. Passage just collapses behind her. The siblings find themselves hunted by a shadowing figure, just representing the Mammon's past victims. And Hannah discovers that she is immune to their attack, hinting at her unborn child's significance right there. But desperately at last, just Charles decides to take the matters into his own hand and trying to get solved by his own way, believing that he can save himself, and he just attempts to kill Drew in the library, stabbing him in the side as well. But Drew fights back, and he's severely injured, and Hannah steps into to protect Drew, and revealing that she is pregnant. The revelation just shocks the group, as it means the bloodline will just continue, possibly avoiding the Mammoth's claim. Charles refuses to believe that this can just save them, and he just locks himself in the study. And we see that attempting to just summon the Mammon for the another negotiation. We see as the midnight approaches, the siblings just discover a very ritual in a Charles journal that just could banish Mammon. It required them to perform a very symbolic sacrifice of their family ties and burning the personal items connected to their past. The ritual just begins, but Charles just interrupts between them, setting the mansion into a very chaotic situation. The clock strikes midnight, and Mammon just manifests in a very horrifying form, a very dangerous form, and that just towering over the siblings. And the demon just demands its due, targeting our very kind billionaire first, that is Charles. And in a very desperate act, Hannah just steps forward with the Drew's blooded shirt, offering it as proof of the unborn child. And Mammon hesitates, and its power disrupted by the continuation of the bloodline. So it's furious, it turns on Charles, dragging him into the abyss. Just kind of having a negotiation at last. And this entity just claims that Charles' souls as payment for the pact he made decades ago. However, the Charles attempt to renegotiate the deal, yet again offering his children lives in his place, just baffles Mammon, and enraged by the Charles' arrogance and failure to fulfill his promise, just dismisses his pleas. And in very horrifying display, we see that Mammon just dragged Charles into the very abyss, fulfilling the original contract, and Charles' scream echoes as he just consumes, symbolizing the ultimate punishment for his greed and betrayal. And his obsession with wealth and power just, I think, cost him not only his life but his humanity too. The crucial twist revealed that when Hannah steps forward to confront the Mammon, that she just announces that she is pregnant with Drew's child, representing the continuation of the bloodline itself. And this just disrupt the Mammon's claims on the sibling, because as per the terms that in the renegotiated pact where they made, the existence of a future of Charles kind of a bloodline just nullifies the immediate threat to the current generation. So the demon right now is bound by deal's terms and can no longer claim the sibling So furious and powerless, it withdraws, leaving the mansion in ruin. And the movement, I think, just symbolizes hope and the potential to break the cycle of greed and corruption that plagued the Charles family. And with Mammon gone and Charles taken, the mansion just symbolizing Charles' legacy of greed just begins to collapse. His siblings and Hannah just narrowly escapes as the estate is consumed by the flame, and the destruction represents the end of Charles' influence and the siblings' liberation from the toxic control. And as the dawn breaks, the sibling and the Hannah stand together outside the ruins of the mansion, and they are bruised, battered at the same time, but they are alive, kind of feeling hopeful and kind of feeling thank. And for the first time, they are united, having survived not just the night but the emotional scars that were inflicted by their father. And Hannah's pregnancy serves as a very kind of beacon of hope that just symbolizes the possibility of a new beginning. We see the unborn child just represent the chance to rebuild the Charles bloodline legacy on the foundation of love and unity and free from the shadows of the Charles greed itself. We see that Hannah just cradles her baby, symbolizing hope and the potential for redemption, and the camera lingers on the very smoldering ruins of the mansion, leaving the viewers with both the sense of closure and lingering uneasiness, and what to expect and what not to expect in a very deep and unexpected way. So the movie was really good, and I like the movie actually, and it does not feel any kind of awkward or something like that, because it really blend the family drama part really good with the thrill element and the horror element that it had in the movie, especially when the movie just deep dive into its concept of sacrifices and the thing related to demon. I think nearly 30 to 45 minutes into the movie, we see that. So it just got me intrigued, and the movie just set it very good tone, especially the horror part of the movie, because it just felt right. And especially, I need to give special thanks or mention to that last scene where we see the Mammon, the greed of demon. That especially, I think his makeup, the CG part of him of that part was just done brilliantly. I mean, when you look at that, you see that there are when he just tried to kill the Charles, we see that the special effect on that thing was just baffling me, because it was just brilliantly executed. Each and every detail on his face, you can see that, and while he was opening his mouth and closing his mouth and doing the certain movements, you can just really feel that, because that it was done so brilliantly. So that scene was just right, because and even the horror element that were coming in and between just played a very important role in the movie, and kind of having the horror thrill element hooking you to keep you at the edge of your seat. And the chemistry between especially Hannah and Drew was very good, and I think Hannah was just graceful in this movie. She just carried the movie so swiftly. She was the last of it because of the unborn child. She was carrying the unborn child at the last we see in this movie, and other characters are just literally dead. And we see Kami, that is the social media star, at the start of the movie, and she just is drowned by the spirit or the force. So she's the first victim itself, who is just uh, into died due to this demonic forces. And then there are other characters that are gone one by one, and at last we see that Charles is just gone due to this evil presence. So we see that nothing is left except Hannah, because of the unborn child she's having. I guess she's just alive, but others, we see the characters are just gone. So I think it's not the most original concept out there, but its execution and solid performance and the thought-provoking themes, it just make a memorable watch. It's definitely a memorable watch. If I had on a scale of 1 to 10, I would just give it a solid 7.5, because it's eerie, emotional, and just I think it will keep you guessing until the very end. So there might be a possibility of sequel too, because of the unborn child may play an important role in the next story, so it may continue there. God knows. So if they are thinking to make it, I think it can be a very good sequel if they have a good story and intelligent writing, and especially the horror thrill element. So I guess it can be a very very decent and very good movie actually. But we see that inheritance isn't actually without its flaws. So This film is actually very heavily relies on the top. We see the as usual horror elements like the locked mansion, the occult symbols, and the classic deal with the devil plot. So while these elements are executed well, they don't just feel particularly fresh. And some part of the story, especially the middle act, just drags slightly because of the siblings just argue more than they. I think they should investigate what is happening or what is not happening with them at that point of time, because the things are not that normal, and a few viewer might also find that the ending too open-ended, leaving question about the true nature of the curse unanswered. So, and it really do, I think, on the pro side, that it really balances the family drama with supernatural horror really good. And the atmosphere in this movie was just on point. I mean, the dimly lit hallways, we see that the creepy whispers and the shadowy figure just lurking around in the hallway and behind them, and sudden supernatural attack just make the mansion feel alive, I guess. So this was really good, and even the performance by cast and crew was good. So if you like this breakdown, do subscribe to our channel Cinema Shadows. Thank you for watching and subscribe for more.